Howdy, everyone. It's Reese, aka Bearman Prime, on this August 26th. Welcome back to my Read the Bible in a Year series. Thank you again for joining me. God bless you all. Card in the top right hand corner for the rest of the playlist. And please hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. I sure do appreciate it. So we're going to continue on as we follow Jesus' journey back to Jerusalem and toward his impending death. Let's pick it up today in Mark chapter 10, verse 35. Then James and John, sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus and said, "Teacher, we want to ask you to do something for us." Jesus asked, "What do you want me to do for you?" The sons answered, "Let us share the great honor you will have as king. Let one of us sit at your right side and the other at your left." Jesus said, "You don't understand what you are asking. Can you drink from the cup that I must drink from? Can you be baptized with the same baptism that I must go through?" The sons answered, "Yes, we can." Jesus said to the sons, "It is true that you will drink from the cup that I drink from, and you will be baptized with the same baptism that I must go through. But it is not for me to say who will sit at my right or my left. God has prepared those places for the ones he chooses." When the other 10 followers heard this, they were angry with James and John. Jesus called all the followers together. He said, "The non-Jewish people have men they call rulers. You know that those rulers love to show their power over the people, and their important leaders love to use all their authority over the people. But it should not be that way with you. Whoever wants to be your leader must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must serve the rest of you like a slave. Follow my example. Even the Son of Man did not come for people to serve him. He came to serve others and to give his life to save many people." Verse 46. Then they came to the town of Jericho. When Jesus left there with his followers, a large crowd was with them. A blind man named Bartimaeus, meaning son of Timaeus, was sitting by the road. He was always begging for money. He heard that Jesus from Nazareth was walking by. So he began shouting, "Jesus, son of David, please help me." Many people criticized the blind man and told him to be quiet. But he shouted more and more, "Son of David, please help me." Jesus stopped and said, "Tell him to come here." So they called the blind man and said, "You can be happy now. Stand up. Jesus is calling you." The blind man stood up quickly. He left his coat there and went to Jesus. Jesus asked the man, "What do you want me to do for you?" He answered, "Teacher, I want to see again." Jesus said, "Go. You are healed because you believed." Immediately the man was able to see again. He followed Jesus down the road. All right, so a little bit of an interesting story. So the first part is actually focusing on James and John, the two brothers, the sons of Zebedee, some of the first apostles that Jesus calls out, and they make a very strange and you might say almost arrogant request where they ask that one of them sit on Jesus' right hand when he assumes what they think to be the throne of David, and then the other sits on the left hand. Both would be seats of honor to sit on either side of the king of Israel, physically, right? That's still what they're thinking, that they're still thinking that Jesus is going to reestablish an earthly kingdom, and they're asking that each of them, for no particular reason other than they're his followers, one would sit on the right and one would sit on the left. And then Jesus asked them, "You have no idea what you're asking him. Can you drink from the cup that I have to drink from? Can you go through the same baptism that I must go through?" And that he's referring to his death, burial, and resurrection. Okay? He's referring to the pain and suffering and then the death that he must die pretty soon. Now, of course, James and John don't know that, so they're like, "Oh, of course, we can do that." And Jesus is like, "Yeah, it's true that you will do that." And that is true. James, at least, we know, was martyred at some point after the establishment of the first century church. John, not necessarily that way, but both of them did suffer for their faith. We know that pretty much all the early Jewish Christians suffered for their faith in some form or other. But then he follows up by saying that it's not for me to choose who sits at my side. God chooses that. Okay. So Jesus is still not, you know, making himself greater than everyone else, even though he has every right to be King of Kings, Lord of Lords. So he could literally lord over everyone if he so chooses, and he would be within his sovereign rights to do so. But he's not. He's still giving it to God because God's the one in control. Even though he is God and he is man, he's giving it all to God the Father. It says that God will put those in their place, those who he will choose those who are supposed to sit in those places. Right? And then he reminds everyone that, the Gentiles, they have their rulers and their leaders, which, remember, the nation of Israel didn't necessarily have anything like that at the beginning. Yes, they eventually got a king, but that was only because they demanded it from Samuel, way back when. But before that, the way it was supposed to work was they wouldn't have a king. They would have the priesthood, the temple priests, and they would speak for God, and God would speak through them. God would be their actual leader. They're more or less the head of their government. Okay, that was how it was supposed to work. Okay, but of course we know it didn't. But anyway, so the Gentiles have their leaders and their rulers, and they love to lord over people, to express their power and authority over everyone. But Jesus reminds us that whoever wants to be first must be least. That even he, Jesus, did not come here to be a king, but to be a servant. He did not come here to be served, but to serve others. And that's the attitude that we should have as followers of Jesus, is not let ourselves think we're better than everyone, but to humble ourselves so that we might better help others. Okay. And then finally, at the last part, he heals another blind man. Okay, it's not as dramatic as the one in John chapter 9, but we have this Bartimaeus fellow who's always by the roadside begging, and he cries out, "Son of David, help me." Okay, now there's somewhere else in the Gospels. I don't think it's in Mark, but it may be one of the other ones like Luke or Matthew, where the same story is recorded, and Jesus asks him, I think, "Why do you call me the Son of David?" And he gives some sort of answer, that he believes that he is, the chosen one, the Messiah, etc., etc. But then Jesus says, "Your belief has healed you." Okay, so when we believe. All right, well, that's all for today. We're going to pick it up there tomorrow. Thank you again for joining me. I sure do appreciate it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.